too long.
Welcome to the show, everyone. I'm already having a blast on my show before I even start because my first guest today has been on with me. I think it's at least 6 years. I don't know, maybe even more. And I have to tell you, he's one of the nicest, and I have fun with him, and I love having him on. He has been on before in the last couple of months at least, but he hasn't been in live because he's so busy. He's growing his business. I have with me Michael Van Vleck, and he is the owner of Denali Real Estate. Welcome.
Thank you, Carol.
To my show, back
Thank
to
you.
my show. You're
It's good to
here
be back.
live. I love having you here. Tell everybody a little bit about you
Sure,
and what
of
you do.
course. So Denali Real Estate is an Arizona licensed real estate brokerage. We primarily cater to real estate investors looking to buy and sell real estate. We also do property management. We're most known for property management, and that includes, with investors, helping them get into the right property and managing it for them during that time. So,
Now, today you like to kind of educate people.
Always.
This is something that I love what you do. And I tell other people that come on the show, this is that platform that you can do that if you like. And you love taking advantage of that. I want to tell everybody today what you want to talk about.
of course. So you're right, though. For us, this doing the radio show is really an extension of what we do every day. One of the most frequent comments that I get from somebody looking for a management company is, thank you so much for taking as much time as you have. Most people will take 10 to 15 minutes. Most of our calls with potential folks looking for managers is at minimum 30, but sometimes an hour, hour and a half, just on the first call. And it's a process where we go through, kind of like we are going to today, and say, how do you find a property manager? What should you be asking? And why should you be asking those things? What we really want to do, just like we do here, is arm them with the right information so that they can make the good decisions for themselves. Whether it includes us or not, at no point at any time during that call is it ever designed to be a sale process where you're getting somebody putting the hard pressure on you to do this, that, and the other. That's not what we do. It's let's get you the information you need so you can really feel empowered to make the decision that's best for you. If that turns out to be us, great.
And, here's the thing, though. Because of your integrity, because of the way that you work with people, most people work with you because they just love the way you are. And that's what you just said. Thank you for taking the time with me.
Absolutely.
So what we're going to do today, we want to talk about things that we want to consider when hiring a property management guy such as Michael.
And this is exactly what we talk about when we go through this process. And I think there are certain things that are really important. And I think a lot of times people realize the basics, but they really get to the point where they're calling other management companies, which I encourage people to do. They don't know what to ask. So they'll ask a couple basic questions like, what are your fees? But they don't know what to ask. And I say, hey, if you want and you have time, let's do like Property Management 101 right here. And we can go through this stuff. And at the end, it's amazing. Folks are like, oh my gosh, I feel really good now about going forward in my search. And I think there are a couple of things that we'll talk about today briefly. These are just a few snippets. So if anybody's, listening, I think they'll helpful. One thing to talk about in the beginning is, why would you hire a property manager?
Why would you hire one?
Totally. So this is the first thing we even talk about. I say, look, if you're local and you live here and you've already been doing it yourself, you're having an easy time of it, then keep doing it. But most of our clients are outside of Arizona. They live in another state or another country because we have clients all over the world. So the question ends up being, how hard is it to manage from afar? It's impossible, nearly. The big issue today is this is a great example, is we deal with COVID and potentially tenants losing their jobs or not being able to pay rent, or how do you screen tenants in a market environment like this? What's the legal framework of the environment like this? These are the kinds of things that a good well-versed and knowledgeable property manager will work you through.
Now, we have a lot of people that do listen from out of the state, out of the country. We're heard all over the world here. The best thing to do is give him a call. You do free consultations. You love to sit and talk to people. That's what he's all about. His phone number direct, it's 480-626-4062. The website is DenaliArizona.com. Number one thing that you think, obviously, if you can do it yourself, why?
Easy.
Obviously, why to do it is another one that you kind of understand why. But what is the number one thing that you feel is the most important thing that people should bring up when they're doing this with you?
Well, I think that as you talk to other managers, the very easiest thing to know, but you need to know to identify, is communication, right? If you're calling around and talking to other companies and they don't answer their phone, or they don't get back to you quickly, or when you're on the phone with them, they don't really take the time to explain things to you, you have to ask then, once I'm having this company manage my property, how am I going to be treated? Is it going to be that sort of very quick interaction?
Can you imagine if you're from out of state, you're in a different time zone, right?
Yep.
And you need somebody, or out of the country, and you're having an issue with your property, and who's going to take care of that? And you're going to want somebody, when there's an issue, you want someone right away.
And I've been, just this week alone, I've been communicating with several people that are looking for a property manager, and they live somewhere very far from here in another country. And so we do accommodate that, and I think that's really important. One thing that's really important to me is every single person, whoever is considering our services, will always talk to me, right? It doesn't matter if they talk to somebody in our office or in our organization first. They will always talk to me. They will at some point, and they will always have direct access to me. And I think that's really important when you have somebody managing, which for most people, having a rental property is one of their biggest investments, if not the. So I think having that direct access is critically important.
That number to call them is 480-626-4062, DenaliArizona.com. I will mention this, no matter what, whether you live here or not, using Denali Arizona Real Estate is the most important phone call you'll ever make. At least find out that.
Agreed.
Find out the information.
I would say, look, make us your first call so that you'll be armed when you make the next calls. And I think that's really critical. Or at least make us one of those first
How
calls.
many people do you know would say something like that of an owner of a business? Not very many, and that's what I love about you. You want to arm them with great information. Find out what's out there. You know you're going to get a call back.
Well, the reason this happens this way is I've been in this situation where I needed someone to help me, and it's very difficult to find where somebody doesn't have this ulterior motive where they want something else in return.
Real quickly, the contract. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, I think that's important. There is in the contract, I think one thing I tell people, which includes the contract but other things, in this general structure, always make sure that you're first, right? The contract should be structured around you too, such as you should be able to fire your manager anytime. So if you're unhappy with your property manager, you should be able to fire them. However, you should be able to do it without a penalty. Most managers charge a penalty if you fire them within the first year. So let's say you sign a 1-year agreement, 3 months in, you're not happy, you still have to pay them the remaining 9 months. Obviously, we don't do that. Our contracts are month to month.
We're going to go to a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk further. They're all about their clients, making sure they're armed with great information, but also making sure that they take care of you, servicing you. It's all about that, their communication. Look how their contracts are.
Absolutely.
They work totally different than anybody else. The number to call them direct, it's 480-626-4062. Check them out on their website. It's DenaliArizona.com. We're going to go to a break. When we come back, we're going to talk further. I love talking about you because you know what? I love listening to about the information too. It arms me with good information too. Again, it's DenaliArizona.com. We're going to stay talking a little bit because we're still live here, and so I want to just talk a little bit about for you. With your contract, it's so unbelievable that you offer so much to your clients, and there has to be a reason.
Well, you know what's funny is one thing that I've been getting is there has to be a catch, right? So people will ask, there's got to be a catch. Why is there a catch? Or why is everyone else doing it this way, but you're not? Like, something is not right here. And I'm like, well, let me explain the philosophy to you behind it. Let me explain why we're doing it this way and how we come to this conclusion. And at that point, they're like, I totally get it now.
Yeah, and you don't even have to say anything to me. I already get it. Because you know what? Over-servicing, over-giving is awesome. Because you know what? You know you're going to get so much back, right?
It is. I think that, the extent the issue is that a lot of these things are structured to where like in our field, the management company always wins. So no matter what happens with your property, they have some sort of fee to charge you, regardless of what's happening. So whether you have a good outcome or a bad outcome, the management company's making money no matter what. And it's almost like they work just hard enough not to get fired so that they can keep you and keep making money. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's like totally backwards
when we come back live on the air, is it okay with you that we talk about that? Because, that too good to be true kind of thing, so the people on the air can hear that?
Yeah.
That's listening. Okay.
I don't mind.
Yeah, because I'm going to go back to that. I think it's important for people to hear that. Like, it sounds so good to be true. There's other people. I think you said that beautifully.
It's and I get it, because here's what happens. When somebody starts a management company, they say, what's everyone else doing? And then they just copy it. So you end up, as you call around, everybody ends up with basically the same stuff. And it's like, so when I come in, I'm like, I'm not doing any of that. I'm going to do it the way that I think it should be done, regardless of what everyone else does. There are absolutely fees we could charge people that we just don't. And if I did, people wouldn't miss a beat.
And they wouldn't, because they wouldn't know it, because they would think it's just like everybody else does.
Everybody else. I mean, and that's fine.
We're going to talk about that real quickly before we go.
Yeah, I mean, fees are in here, so.
What?
I said fees are in here, so that like ties right into it.
Yeah. You know what? You need to change that. Did you just hear that?
Yeah, because we don't do 6% anymore. We just do a flat fee.
Holy crap, we need to take that off. I'm glad we heard that.
Yeah, it's fine.
See how he is?
But nobody calls and is like, hey, I heard you do 6%. They
don't
when we
hear
get
it.
a call from the radio show, and we do.
Hold on. So welcome back, everyone. So we've been talking a little bit to Facebook. Hi to everybody out there, if you can see my hand there. And we've been sort of talking a little bit about some of the different things that people probably say to you all the time. This sounds too good to be true. You say you get that a lot, and yet
do.
what? And so tell them.
Well, I think it's almost mostly as you call around and you talk to other folks. There's a general structure of how things are set up, and we're not structured that way. I'm a property owner, so I own investment properties. I have property managers that work for me out of state. And so I've had this experience of doing this. So when I started this company, it wasn't about what is everyone else doing, what's everyone else charging. It's how does this really need to be structured so that it's to the benefit of the owner first. So it's the decision tree is not what's easiest for the management company and how do we go from there. It's what's right for the owner, regardless of how much time and effort extra it might take for us. There's a lot of things that we do that are not the most efficient for us, but they're the best thing and the right thing for the owner.
Isn't that neat that he does that? And, we had said that so many people just think that, well, everybody does it the same way. They don't.
And here's an example. Here's an example of inefficiency but benefit to the owner. So let's say a tenant calls and they have a problem. My garbage disposal is not working. So the first thing that we do is go over with the tenant some troubleshooting to see if we might be able to get them to get it going without necessarily sending someone. We do that with lots of different things. If something happens and it looks like we're going to need to send someone to diagnose, troubleshoot, or fix it, our process is to always call the owner for any maintenance item. Most management companies will have a reserve amount like $300 or $400 that says, look, owner, if something happens and it's going to be less than $300 or $400, we have the automatic discretion to just send somebody, whoever we want, no matter what it is, and do it. And that's any one item. So if you have 3 of those in a month, That's 3 separate things. So for us, it would certainly be more efficient for us to have these types of thresholds. Then when maintenance comes in, which the vast majority of it is below those numbers, you can just farm it out to whoever you want. We don't do that because we want to be accountable to the owner. The owner always has the preference of who we send, what vendor. Some owners do their own work, and we're held accountable to the prices too. So we can't just send some vendor for a normal $10 item, and if it's going to be $200, nobody cares. In our case, we do care. So this creates a whole level of accountability to the owner that isn't consistent in other companies. And I think that's what's important.
It makes them different and stand out.
It's not easier for us. It takes more time to do that.
Exactly.
But it's the right thing.
And it's the right thing, but it's also ethical.
Here's another one.
Right?
This is another good one. So when your house is vacant, okay, most management companies, this is a little secret, they don't actually show your house. Okay? They put on a little special lockbox for self-showings. What this means is you can text or get a number, and you can go and enter the house on your own by yourself, and you show the home to yourself. Okay? Most management companies do this. Most owners have no idea that this happens. And what happens is they'll say, well, if your home is occupied, we won't show it until it's empty. And this is one of the reasons why, is because they want to put on these little boxes, and then anybody off the street can go in whenever they want to. We do not do that. It's not right, in my opinion, for lots of reasons. Number one, we want to meet the people that are coming to see the house. We want to make sure the house is safe and secure. Any owner I talk to is like, yeah, I don't want that.
No, of course not. I mean, God forbid somebody slips and falls right
anything.
in your house. Anything can happen.
Imagine this, though. Imagine how easy it would be for us to simply allow anybody to go into the... I don't have to get out of my chair then.
Right.
I don't have to get up and go anywhere. And so that's just another example of that would be incredibly easy for us. Everyone else is doing it, so if we did it too, it would be like, oh, okay, yeah, this is pretty standard practice. We don't do it because I don't believe in it. I think it's the right thing to meet the people, give the people looking service too, because everybody that comes to look at a home has questions. They want to talk to somebody, and they usually can't get a hold of the management company, and nobody even shows them. So most owners don't even know this kind of stuff happens. If I did it the way everyone else is doing it, no one would say anything. But I don't do it because I don't believe in it. I believe it's right to the owner for us to meet the people
and be there
to make sure the home is safe and secure, be the one to let them in. So this is another example of we chews up a ton of our time to drive around and meet all these folks, but it's the right thing.
The phone number to call, 480-626-4062. It's Denali, Arizona.com. What else?
Well, I think the other thing is when you talk about this process, when you're looking for a manager, their leasing process is really important. And we touched a little bit about that in terms of actually meeting the people. But there's a big differentiator in how the company conducts their leasing in a couple of key areas. Number one, it goes back to communication. Do they answer their phone? Imagine somebody's interested in your home, they want to rent it, but they can't get a hold of the management company because they want to be able to go and see it. By the way, that's the number one issue tenants have in the marketplace today. When they're interested in a property, they can't get anyone to reply to them, to answer questions. They have to try to do it through email if they're lucky. So that part is really huge. For us, we actually meet the people at the homes, which is not common. For people interested in our homes, we're the only manager I know of that does not charge people application fees to apply.
I love that you do that.
And so if you talk to any applicants, they'll say, we're not sure if we want to apply for this home because we've already applied for 3 others and we've spent money to fill out an application, which is usually $40, $50 per adult. And we didn't get our money back because that's what they do. They take 5, 6, 7, 10 applications and they pick one. Right. So it's not exactly the benefit. In our case, we're like, we don't charge you an app fee. Submit your application, we'll review it. We take them and process them in the order they come in so that it's fair, and we'll go from there. So these are the kinds of things that if we charge an application fee, would anybody say anything? Nope. You know why? Everybody else does it. We don't do it because I just don't think it's the right thing.
Well, when you think about it, you're getting more applicants,
yep.
right? and you're looking at more to find out who's the right one for that property.
Well, think of this. An application fee actually hurts the property owner, right? Because that means they potentially will get fewer people to apply because they're afraid to pay a fee. So this no application fee that we do is really designed because it's the right thing for the owner. And it helps the tenant, and so it's a double bonus. But we want as many apps that can come in to benefit the owner so that we have a better opportunity to find the kind of tenant that we're looking for.
This is the kind of business, the way that Mike chooses to work, the way you are.
It's the way business should be done, in my opinion.
And I love that about you, and I think everybody who's listening, when you are doing these kinds of things for your clients, for the tenants, you are getting a good quality person, ethical person to work with, that someone is going to be there for you. There's nothing like that. And you don't always find that at every single, property management company. You might find people that are charging, for this, that, and the other thing, but you're not going to find someone like Mike.
So one thing I think is, and this is a bigger picture item, but I always think, there's a saying, a true judge of somebody's character is what you do when no one's looking. Okay, so a lot of these things that we're talking about, most of our clients don't know. They don't, and there's a lot of other things that we do that they really don't know. It's like ignorance is bliss, right? It doesn't matter if they know necessarily that we're doing all these things, but what ends up happening is the result of it. The result of it is, we provide a quality service, right? And so their end result ends up being at a higher level than what they were experiencing or what they can get elsewhere. So I don't need them to know every little nuance of this. I just need to know that we're doing the right thing for them, and it will come out in the end result.
You'll know once you start talking to you. That's all it does, is take that conversation with you, and you'll feel it right there. That phone number, 480-626-4062, DenaliArizona.com. Real quickly, we got a couple of minutes here. So, guarantees.
So, guarantees are important. In our case, we do guarantee our work in lots of different ways. If you're not happy with our service, as I mentioned, you can terminate us anytime. It's very important to me that our clients are always happy. So we guarantee our work. The vendors that we use, if an owner needs to use vendors that we know, they guarantee their work. If we place a tenant for an owner, we guarantee them for 6 months. If they don't make it 6 months, then we will place them the next tenant for free. Our average tenancy right now is about 3.5 years. So that's a really long time, and that's a product of our screening methodology, how we go about selecting tenants and going through that. So I think there's a number of things there that are value added. One thing I would say that I think is important from an owner's perspective is to make sure that your property manager has a certain level of flexibility. So make sure that they are going to customize it if there's certain things you really care about, that they're going to do those things.
You can check him out on his website. It is DenaliArizona.com. Call him. He does free consultations. He loves to educate you on this, and he loves to help his clients. 480-626-4062.